straightaway this time by that 77 Dalton Sargent, not able to draw alongside Terry Jones. Right to the back bumper of Austin Terrio in turn 4.
Leaders coming back to the stripe. It'll be 5 laps to go here in the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. It's Austin Terrio leading the charge to the bottom of the racetrack, back to the stripe. Once again, Terry Jones about a car length back. Trouble here on the trail. The one driver almost outside. In turn number 4, coming off of that turn, and now that car kicks upside down as it slowly comes to a stop at the exit of pit road. 3 cars involved here at Daytona. A really hard hit coming off of that 4th corner.
One of the cars involved was the 5 car of Bobby Gerhardt. Cody Warbaugh also to the outside lane. The car upside down is Justin Fontaine, that 33 machine on the inside lane of the racetrack that got out of shape, went into the outside retaining wall along the trioval, got up on its side, and then slid down to about the start-finish line to where it has come to rest just past the exit of pit lane on the inside of the racetrack.
There's a look at Bobby Gerhardt, one of the drivers of the 2 that's involved. We mentioned Justin Fontaine, one of the other drivers that had issues in that caution as well. As they continue, the safety crews are already on scene to take care of the drivers involved right at the exit of pit road. Everybody came to a stop pretty much in the same areas on the high side and down at the exit of pit road. As our latest caution, a red flag comes out here on lap number 75. Joe, very tight racing. You knew something was going to be happening with everybody racing door handle to door handle. The racing very intense coming through the corners.
Yeah, it seemed to take place a little bit deeper in the pack, probably from about 10 on back, where one car got out of line, shoved beneath the yellow line. We'll see replays of eventually of what exactly happened up there in turns 3 and 4. But right now there you see Cody Rohrbar in that black and neon number 7. Who is being tended to along with Bobby Gerhardt, who will again today come up shy of winning his 9th victory here in Daytona. And over the past couple of years, Bobby Gerhardt has certainly been snake bit here at this racetrack. He'll go 5 years now without getting a taste of victory lane.
Yeah, it's been tough, and the level of competition isn't getting any easier from year to year in the ARCA Series when you come to Daytona, or no matter where you go. So for Bobby Gerhardt, that makes it that much tougher, even though you might not have a Frank Kimmel or a Will Kimmel or some of the other drivers that have been around. And there you see Bobby Gerhardt, the 8-time champion, walking away, as is Lucas Oil Chevrolet, and his run comes to a conclusion. But good to see the driver at Lebanon, Pennsylvania is indeed okay.
There you see Cody Rohrbaugh is also out of his number 7 as he makes the walk to the Florida Hospital ambulance here on the front straightaway at Daytona. Rohrbaugh, another driver who is trying to advance from NASCAR's K&N Pro Series to give a shot at ARCA with this family team, going to put a lot of effort into this operation here in 2017. Was out towards the front of the field throughout much of the day, running solidly inside the top 10 to the top 15, but he's going to finish just shy of the 80-lap event here today.
Well, that was a long ride on the side for Justin Fontaine when he eventually went over and just ended up on that side, skidding on the side of that car for the longest time, right through the travel here on the front stretch at Daytona International Speedway, as our safety crews, the best of the business, go to work on everybody there as we bring out the latest caution and red flag here on lap 75. We were coming to the 5-to-go sign when this latest incident came out. And once again, we are continuing to tend to our drivers to get everybody straight and resume with our Lucas Oil Complete Oil Treatment 200 driven by General Tire. Good race. Glad to have you with us here this weekend here at the World Center of Racing. Again, the Advanced Auto Parts Clash for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series will be coming up following our ARCA Racing event. We'll be down trackside with Jim Mueller for the awards presentation of who the winner of this event might be. But Joe, as we talked about it at the top of the broadcast, we said this was going to be a tough one to figure out if you were a betting man who to put your money on, and I think it's lived up to that billing all the way up to the remaining 5 laps of this event.
Well, I can tell you that I was wrong. For certain. I mean, this was a wild event. We saw a lot of guys who have never even raced here in Daytona lead this event. I think Quinn Hope was one of them. The story is right from the green flag, right? Willie Mullins started in the 5th position here today, was able to race early on towards the front of the field, ran into some trouble early, but just small teams. Austin Terrio, what a story there, right? The young man who has been trying to make his name in National Series racing. Finally, this year has got a shot to run full-time at ARCA competition for Ken Schrader, and he's proving that he belongs here in Daytona and again in ARCA. So there are so many storylines in this season opener that have certainly made this event a very dramatic opener for the ARCA Racing Series.
And as we get set to go back to green here in just a little bit, it is still well in doubt as to who is going to be the car that sits in victory lane. If there is no other caution and it's just intense racing as it has been through the entire race, I still wouldn't want to put my money on anybody because I know I would lose it myself. Some great competition. The level of competition is just so even. As we check out our ISM vision screen and the safety crews turning the Justin Fontaine machine back over on its four wheels. As one of the drivers that was involved in the incident here on lap number 75 as they were coming to the 5 to go indication.
So as work continues out there on the racetrack, if you look down into UNOH fan zone, if you're getting ready for tonight's Advanced Auto Parts Clash, many of the teams going through inspection, including one car that just went through, the 88 car that will be driven tonight by Alex Bowman. In NASCAR competition, Matt Kenseth's car just starting to go through that final inspection pass as these cars get ready for tonight's preseason exhibition here at Daytona. And buddy, the excitement keeps building around that particular event. Brad Keselowski very strong in Daytona 500 practice earlier today. We had a 4-hour session. Team Penske looked very good throughout that session, Keselowski being one of them. He'll be on the front row along with Daytona 500 champion from 1 year ago, Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, we talked about the 4-hour session these drivers had today. Most of them didn't have a chance to practice last night. It was reserved primarily for the Advanced Auto Parts Class drivers, which were those 17. Today, everybody got a chance to get out onto the racetrack for a long period of time, and we saw a great battle. The Ford Brigade led the charge for the longest time. Eventually, here came some of the Chevrolets, and then Toyota's mixed in. When the leaderboard was done after those 4 hours, it was a pretty good mix of the different makes of models of cars in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, which is what you'll love to see, no matter whether it's the beginning of the season or whenever.
Of course, you work all season long just to be able to win the pole at Daytona here tomorrow, and certainly everybody's got their eye on that. Going to be very exciting. We'll see Daytona 500 qualifying presented by Kroger taking place here tomorrow at Daytona shortly after 3 o'clock. And buddy, you and I were talking a little bit earlier. For the past couple of years, we've seen some really exciting stories around the pole winner. You go back to 2013, right? Danica Patrick becomes the first female to win a pole for the Great American Race. Year after that, the return of car number 3 to NASCAR competition with Austin Dillon. Then all of a sudden we saw Jeff Gordon win the pole on Chase Elliott last year. But here's a look on the ISM vision of what just happened.
And you can see a couple of cars just getting out of shape, and one of those was Justin Fontaine as he eventually tagged the wall with Bobby Gerhart and Cody Rohrbal. 3 cars involved. It's hard to tell that there's 3 right there. And you saw Justin Fontaine, the long ride he took on driver's left for the longest time before he eventually just eased over onto his roof. Fortunately, none of the drivers made contact with him once that happened. But again, a lot of times we've seen contact from a driver from behind, and again, there you see it right up against the outside retaining wall. The car just stays on the driver's side for the longest time, and eventually most of the field has already gotten around him. That's the good news. And then Fontaine's car eventually dumps over onto the roof and skids down to the exit of pit road down below the bottom yellow line. So that is the end result there for Justin Fontaine, and a tough break. One car out of shape, and there you saw it. And after that, it only takes one wiggle by one driver, Joe, and then it's just on after that. So the safety crews continue their work at the exit of pit road for Justin Fontaine and our other drivers involved. As we mentioned, Bobby Gerhart a few moments ago, we saw him climb from the car and head to the Care Center. Cody Rohrbal also being tended to, as Joe mentioned, one of the drivers running the NASCAR Can-Am Pro Series East. Young driver trying to still earn his way through and having a good run in the ARCA Racing Series here this afternoon before the unfortunate incident hit on lap number 75. Different views from in-car cameras and different angles courtesy of the folks on the ISM vision screen. There's a tough shot showing Justin Fontaine in the 33 car. Well, again, the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards will have about a month off before they head back into competition coming up on April the 8th at Fairgrounds Speedway in Nashville for the Music City 200 presented by Jive. April the 30th, they head to one of the smallest short tracks in the country, the Salem Speedway in Indiana for the Salem ARCA 200. Again, April 30th for a 200-lap event, but much like Martinsville to Talladega for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, the same thing for the ARCA drivers. They'll go to one of the smallest short tracks in the country to the Talladega Superspeedway to run the Talladega ARCA 200 coming up on May the 5th. And again, depending on what areas of the country you come from, if you have the opportunity to have the ARCA drivers running in your area, they certainly have a very diverse schedule indeed. In addition to the high banks of Daytona and Talladega, the short asphalt tracks, they also run some of the Midwest dirt short tracks as well. So it's a very demanding, very diverse schedule, and pretty much whoever wins this championship can say they earned it by virtue of the variety of racetracks that they get a chance to run on right now. Well, as Joe was mentioning, coming up later on tonight, won't be long after we're done with our ARCA competition. We're going to be pretty much getting into pre-race festivities for the Advanced Auto Parts Clash for the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series drivers. Now, again, he mentioned Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin will be starting up front in the event. The crew chiefs drew the pills to determine the starting positions. That's one of the few times the crew chiefs have some type of involvement of that nature in determining where a driver starts. Jamie McMurray and Austin Dillon will be starting back in row number 2, representing the Bowtie Brigade there. Martin Truex Jr. and Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time Monster Energy NASCAR champion, will be back in row number 3. Kevin Harvick and Alex Bowman and the Nationwide Chevrolet number 88, the Dale Earnhardt Jr. car. He'll be back in row number 4. Joey Logano, Kurt Busch will line up in that 5th row later on this evening, followed by Kyle Larson and Danica Patrick. Kyle Busch and Chase Elliott go off in row number 7. Matt Kenseth, Daniel Suarez, and Chris Buescher will make up the 17-car field of drivers in the Advanced Auto Parts Clash, which will be coming up. Green flag scheduled to go roughly at 8:24 this evening. Glad to have you on hand with us right now as we wrap up our latest caution here in the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. Just to recap what happened a year ago, in case you weren't here or missed it, Denny Hamlin and the FedEx Express Toyota came away with the Clash win over Joey Logano, Paul Menard, Kyle Larson, and Casey Mears. Some of those drivers are back in the field. 25 were in the field just one season ago, as we look to see who our latest champion is going to be. Well, it's been a very strong run, as we mentioned, for the Cunningham Motorsports cars. We did talk to the crew chief for Shane Lee a few moments ago. Let's get the thoughts of the crew chief for Dalton Sargent, who currently sits in 4th downstairs with Joe Cox.
Yeah, with Chad Bryant, 4th position up there in the scoring pylon here at Daytona. It seems like today anything can happen. How do you plan for a race like this?
You don't. You just get out there and do what you do week in and week out and try to make the best of each scenario. Right here, we're going to push the 30 to the lead, hopefully, and then try to pass it.
How helpful is it knowing that you got a couple of those Cunningham Motorsports cars running so well at the front of the field, so you could, if things work out rightly, get a decent drafting partner?
It hasn't worked that way so far today. We just haven't been in line with each other, but if we get that opportunity, we've done it before and we'll do it again.
All right, that's Chad Bryant, hoping to see if he can guide Dalton Sargent to the front of this field. Only a handful of laps remain here in Daytona, but certainly a lot of excitement down on pit lane.
And you can see some of the highlights from earlier today on the ISM Vision screen in case you didn't get a chance to get to the racetrack right from the beginning of the event. Here are some of the other cautions and some of the activity, not only on the racetrack, but on pit road. And we have seen one driver in the form of Brett Holmes in that 23. He's currently 6th on the board. He had some issues being pinned in on pit road earlier today. He had to back the car up. By the time he got out, he lost several positions. Other drivers have fallen in that category as well and have worked themselves from the tail end of the field and find themselves in a prime position to come away and pick up this victory. Well, we mentioned Chase Briscoe is the defending ARCA Racing Series champion, and of course, by virtue of his success this year, or this past season, that's vaulted him into an opportunity in the Camping World Truck Series. Chase is on hand to catch this ARCA action. He's back downstairs with Joe.
Hey, he just happens to be hanging out in the pit box here for Dalton Sargent. Chase, soaking in a little bit of ARCA competition. What are your thoughts on the race so far?
It's definitely been exciting. It's been a long one, but hopefully the rain will hold off here and we can get back to green and hopefully get one of those Cunningham cars in victory lane.
You certainly have a great opportunity this year with Brad Keselowski Racing. You'll be running in the Camping World Truck Series starting with Friday night next week. What are your thoughts on that as you embark on the next level in your racing career?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like you said, I have a great opportunity with Brad. Just everybody over there. Brad obviously knows what he's doing, has a lot of experience, and it's just a great organization. So definitely looking forward to next week. It's going to be nice to finally knock the rust off, get back to racing, and definitely wish we were out there today.
And we've talked a lot about throughout the day, ARCA Racing Series, how it develops drivers like yourself to move up to that next level. If it wasn't for this division and you being the last year's champion, do you think you'd be able to make that next step in your racing career?
Oh, definitely not. I feel like last year really gave me kind of a show able to do last year. So definitely, I think the ARCA Series is a great opportunity, just to show what you can do, like I said, and get opportunities and experience that a lot of these racetracks ARCA Series goes to.
All right, that's Chase Briscoe in the ARCA Series. He'll be driving for Brad Keselowski come Friday night in the NextEra Energy Resources 250.
And we look forward to that. And Joe, as you know, that has become one of the most exciting races during Speed Weeks ever since the Camping World Truck Series came to life here at Daytona. You almost see the drivers that go around this racetrack. You can almost, if you can see through their visors, they've just got a big old grin on their faces, loving to be on tracks of this size. And Camping World Truck Series has never disappointed, much like the ARCA Racing Series hasn't. It's become one of the most exciting races and competes very well with the Xfinity and the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series as far as the excitement level. And Chase Briscoe will add to that excitement. Having some experience here on the high banks of Daytona in ARCA competition, he'll transition that to the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Some repair also being done here in the trial, pretty much about where the incident occurred between Cody Rohrbach, Bobby Gerhard, and Justin Fontaine. So track crews are also working on that as they continue to tend to the Justin Fontaine machine. Quite a bit of a challenge as the car was upside down, getting it back on all four wheels and getting everything straight there. So our cleanup continues at the head end of pit road and also here on the front straightaway. The speedy dry has been applied, so as soon as we get everything cleared up with our safety vehicles, that next process will continue. But as you can see, the crews on the ISM Vision screen working feverishly, basically due to the car, the roof being smashed down the way it was and the damage done to it. So quite a bit of work to get Justin Fontaine taken care of. And of course, we will continue to update on how things are going for that young driver and reset the field here very shortly with 5 laps to go here in our Lucas Oil Complete Oil Treatment 200 driven by General Tire. There was a look a few moments ago of Austin Theriault, a very strong driver, having himself a spectacular run here this afternoon. The driver in the Kenny Schrader number 52 started back in 9th on the field in the Longwood Auto Auction Chevrolet and has not disappointed. He has been one of the few drivers that's been able to put that car pretty much wherever he has wanted, and one of the few that made that outside line work before Shane Lee did on these last couple of last green flag runs. He has had a very strong run in that Cunningham Motorsports entry, but then Austin's also been very good to the bottom side of the racetrack. So we'll see what happens when we get back to green here in just a little bit. All race fans, Daytona International Speedway is pleased to announce that AMCIS Rescue Tools have been chosen to be the official rescue system of the Daytona International Speedway. AMCIS is one of the premier rescue tool manufacturers in the world. AMCIS rescue systems are in use in over 75 countries worldwide and in major racing facilities on 5 continents. When an accident happens, only skilled personnel and the best equipment will do the job. The Daytona International Speedway safety crew and AMCIS Rescue Tools work together to ensure the fastest and the safest response to every incident. When the race is for life, you can count on AMCIS. Now, we have mentioned and alluded a lot to the Cunningham Motorsports team and the Venturini Motorsports teams. Wintron Racing. There are some powerhouses in this ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards. Another very strong team in the last few years has come on like gangbusters is Mason Mitchell Motorsports, and Joe Koss is downstairs with a key figure of that team.
Yeah, how about the owner and also calling the shots tonight on this 78 for Kyle Weatherman. Mason, you've been a champion in this division as a driver. Now you look like you had 3 championship style cars out there.